Hi, welcome to my current reading vlog. This one, Astonishing Ant-Man. Well, it's by Nick Spencer, one of my favourite writers. So it's just absolutely thoroughly enjoyable. I laughed all the way through this. It's just brilliant. Now, I read it in bed this morning and wow, what a great read. Just some great scenes all the way through it. You got Scott Lang and of course you got Hank Pym as well. Also, you've got lots of other characters, Cassie, etc. Also, you've got some brilliant villains. One of my favourites, the Beatles, from the Superior Foes of Spider-Man. I love that. You also got, of course, my favourite, another favourite character. Obviously, previously the Human Top, good old. It's probably all the failed villains of Giant Man and Ant-Man here. And you've got here, cancelled. What? I was just about... It's just, oh, no. Yeah, the money's got a bit more expensive. It's just great. You also got here, Darla as well. So you've got the good old thing there. It's just brilliant. A thoroughly enjoyable read all the way. You've also, of course, got yes, another one of my favourite characters. And this is why I love it. Egghead. Good old Egghead. I love those bits of scenes like with some of the characters turning around and saying, well, if you actually just paid me occasionally instead of just being a ruthless evil villain that just seems to be useless most of the time. Actually, I'm surprised Puppet Master isn't in this. And some of the others. Mole Man. No, there isn't. There isn't any characters. But it's just full of some great story all the way through. I love it. Absolutely loved it. Also, I love the Magician and other characters that turn up. These are old Ant-Man / Wasp / Giant Man characters. It's just a fun read all the way through it. You've got some details there, what it obviously includes. So you've got here Ant-Man, issue 1 to 5, annual number 1, Ant-Man Last Days 1, and also the Astonishing Ant-Man 1 to 13. You can see the details there. Now, finished reading this, which was absolutely brilliant. Now, I've talked about this already. Ant-Man and Giant Man, just an absolutely brilliant epic collection. That's the reason I bought this Astonishing one, because of this. And it's just great, full of some brilliant stories. Giant Man versus the Wonderful Wasp. And it finishes off all of the Giant Man stories that obviously Tales to Astonish. That's been waiting for ever and ever. I thought, when's it ever going to turn up? Volume 1 came out ages ago. Then we got Volume 2 finally. Now this has got this really quirky story here, which was in Iron Man. I must admit, I don't remember seeing this. Probably I had this issue. Night Phantom. Remember buying this one? The Ant-Man story completely lost on me. And there's good old Porcupine as well. He quite often turns up regularly. No, he's not in the story. But it's got some real ropey characters here. Paraman! You always know in the story. Insects! You stand like Boswell and attempt to flee. So not that you can see that they're actually humans, but still, he obviously thinks they're still insects. But there's some really quite unusual artwork here. I mean, there's some really good, very unusual stories. These are from Marvel Feature. Unfortunately, it was only 4 to issue 10. And then, of course, it went to The Thing and the Hulk, and which were fine. I love those stories. You've also got Power Man in here as well, Luke Cage, and the good old Ringmasters and the Circus of Crime. Yeah, I'm actually surprised they don't turn up in the Ant-Man one. They should. They really should. Actually, I think it's great to get a book where you've got all the really most useless characters of Marvel, put them all into one book, and then really sort of make them sort of much better than they ever were. Because there's some great characters there just waiting to become famous and important characters. You know, not Doctor Doom characters. You can't really have much fun with Doctor Doom other than Squirrel Girl or something, I guess. This is a lovely read. Pattie Boyd's My Life in Pictures. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm also reading the autobiography on my Kindle. Also, I watched a lovely documentary on Sky Arts, the George Harrison one. She does feature a little bit in that, but this has got not much text, but it's got lots and lots of pictures from magazines and much more all the way through. Lots of black and white. Of course, it's all in the 60s. We've got a lovely picture there and many others. Some very unusual pictures as well. But a thoroughly enjoyable read. It's quite a nice thick book, and that's from Wrap. Now, there's also this one, Love and Rockets. For some weird reason, I love Love and Rockets. For years and years, I bought many of the comics by the Hernandez brothers. And this one, Rockets, Love and Rockets, the covers, is the only book I've got left, which is very odd. There was lots of the art of, etc. And for some weird reason, I just don't have those anymore. But still, Love and Rockets, the covers. This is just amazing. Near enough like a sort of artist edition. It's not exactly, but it's a sort of really substantial book. But the pictures, the quality is really sharp all the way through. Also got some original art as well, which is always nice. That's why I mentioned sort of like an artist edition or artisan edition. You can see there, got original cover there. Just brilliant. Volume 1, issue 2. And you've got another. It's just super sharp. And of course, you notice it doesn't have love and rockets, all that sort of stuff over it. So you've got that. Some you do. Of course, when they produce these, obviously, clearly they couldn't remove it. But some, of course, but you've got that. That is just absolutely staggeringly brilliant. And of course, lots of wrestling and much, much more. This is just a joyous, absolutely brilliant book to look through. The artwork is first rate. I just think they're some of the best covers, some of the best work. And as it says there, marvellous, hope one day to attain the level of cut. I think it's just a great book. If you're a fan of comic books, I think the covers book is definitely one to get. Now this one's an odd one. I've been sort of umming about anything about this. The Land Lost. Lots of people put comments about this, and they're all sort of, because it's by there. Now, the complete Land Lost, I wanted to read it, so I thought, well, I must get a copy of this. Volume 2. I would love to buy the originals, but the originals are ridiculously expensive. They're EC Comics. Of course, anything EC Comics, especially pre-trend. In the UK especially, very hard to get. I think I've seen one Land of the Lost comic ever in all the years going through comic marts and things. You just don't see them. Whenever you look on eBay, quite often you find copies. They're often reasonably priced in the States, but of course postage and packaging £4,000 sort of thing. Doesn't always seem to be that way. But this is in black and white, and this has got issue 5 all the way through to 9. The stories are plain weird. You've got Billy and Isabel just in strange adventures. They have to eat some magic seaweed to go under the sea, and they have adventures under the sea. And there's lots and lots of very weird characters all the way through it. And the story and art is just superb, very odd, plain. The closest I can really think of is probably like H.G. Peters, the Wonder Woman. Similar sort of style, not all of it. Some of the artwork, the style changes. This one, definitely. Very, very different. Granny Grizzlefin has disappeared. So it's very strange, sort of Wizard of Oz maybe, sort of style. You've got some, obviously, stories there. Also, you've got other stories as well. So you've got Fat and Slat in it. Some very weird ones about various medieval times and things. They just had everything thrown in these sort of stories. Like, so example here. Oh, yes, this sort of one. Folks, we want you to meet Comics McCormack. Now, I don't know, the world's #1 comic book fan. I wondered if they were going to do a comic book or something about him. That just seems to be very odd little story. But still, very enjoyable. EC, anything EC comic. I would love to see Dark Horse or Fantagraphics bring out a proper version of this. Real nice, couple of volumes, just in total superb quality. I mean, this is fine, but it's because I wanted to find out something about Land of the Lost Comics that I got it. And these are based on 1943 to 48 radio show. So that's an interesting little book. This one I'm reading, I thoroughly enjoy Blake. Love his work, his artwork is just superb, all those sort of things. And over the years, I've read many of his poems. And Peter Ackroyd. He's a great writer. I love Peter Ackroyd. Now, he's produced so many books over the years. Let's see for the list of Peter Ackroyd. Well, this list is actually not very long compared with some of them. But that one's good. The Life of Thomas More, Dickens, T.S. Eliot, read that, Milton in America, Plato Papers. Oh, The House of Dr. D's brilliant. Dan Leno and the Limehouse Column, of course, recently made into a film. That was great. Hawksmoor, absolutely superb. The Great Fire in London. All of English music, superb. Chatterton. Lots of those, just great. So Peter Ackroyd, Blake. Now, there's lots and lots of text, of course, strange enough. Lots and lots of detail about his time in London, various places. And actually, some of the places I was thinking, wow, I know that. I was thinking, I really must go and visit. Recently, I went and saw his grave as well. So that was in, Bun Hill Gardens. And you got obviously some pictures here. And I wonder if it's probably got that at the back actually, but it's also got lots of examples of his work, and it's just a brilliant book. I love this book. I say anything by Blake or Peter Ackroyd is certainly worth checking out. So that's a great read. Now, I love Lucy Knisley. I don't know if Lucy Knisley, I don't know if Knisley, I never can say her name properly. Relish, if she's produced many more works. I've looked online, there's a few, but I haven't seen them around recently, not in my local shops. So I must check out more. But I picked this one up mainly because I was watching one of the K-Fabs and they were talking about various Japanese books about cooking and comic books, graphic. And the one example I could think of was this. And I thought, oh, I read this years ago. quite a few years ago, and I thought, oh, I must get that again. And I just love it. Just the artwork is superb all the way through. Macaroons you got here, flourless cake, ginger snaps, dolce de leche. I just think just absolutely, and also about cookies and various hot chocolate, getting, what's the other thing? Just fresh eggs over black beans, tortilla and salsa verde. Just absolute great book, and also examples of turn your stove. Just wow. Why can't there be more comic books about how to cook, as well as, of course, everything else about her life? It's just absolutely fascinating. Loved this. All the books are great. All the ones I've ever read, they are Lucy Knisley. And she was born in New York City, and it's got all detail. French Milk was superb. I love that one. Does it have a list? No. That's strange. Doesn't have a list of her other books. It's got some pictures in the back. But I was just wondering, does it have any? No. Strange enough, I can't say any of her other ones. But they are very good. Lucy Knisley, Life in the Kitchen. This was great. Fuseli, or Fuseli, I'm not certain how you say it, and The Modern Woman. Now, that's sort of connected with Blake. They sort of worked in the same sort of circles, walked in the same sort of place. And The Modern Woman, Fashion, Fantasy and Fetishism. And this was an exhibition over at the Courtauld Gallery. I probably got that name wrong as well. I am really terrible. When it comes to saying names of places, I think, no, probably not. But this is very odd book, Drawing in the Age of Luxury. Very, very enjoyable. Now, I didn't buy this at the exhibition. I must admit, I quite often go to exhibitions and I look and think, oh, I think it was about 30 odd pounds. Oh, yes, Courtyard there. And also the Kunsthaus, Zurich. But they're quite expensive, and I think this was like 35 or 30 or something at the convention. Now, I noticed online there was a copy for 15, and I thought, oh, I'll pick that one up. I know, terrible, isn't it? But still, this is just an absolute filled with some very truly unusual. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed the exhibition as well. The exhibition was amazing, just walking around seeing the artwork. I've never seen so many works of his. It was just absolutely first rate all the way through. And this catalogue is very nice. Lots of detail about his life and information about other people as well. And also, of course, the usual select bibliography, etc. at the back. Now, I recently went to another one that was very good. The Horror Show. That was Somerset House, just next door. Now, for some weird reason, I didn't see the advertising for the Horror Show, so I didn't go to it until near enough about 2 days before the end. And unfortunately, that didn't seem to have a catalogue. And I don't know if it has got a catalogue, but it was a brilliant exhibition. Love those sort of things when you go to an exhibition. This one I did thoroughly enjoy, and it was just great to see. But it was the Horror Show one was, I think, even better. Just the way they did it. It was just so many different rooms, different styles of doing things, and it was just great. Here's a book that could have been an absolute masterpiece, but sadly it isn't. It's brilliant. It's very good. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I thoroughly enjoy reading it. But this is Jeffrey Jones, and it's just all of his books, comics, everything else, the definitive reference. And of course, it is definitive, but the pictures are so small. You got here, look at the pictures, very, very tiny. Now, every one of those should really be a full page at least. Got those ones over there, the laughing ghost. Some look just amazing. I just love the work, just absolutely brilliant. And you got to see there various fanzines or magazines, or just lots, everything, lots of details, massive amounts of information. I mean, really, really great. But I wish they'd probably gone for smaller amount. Maybe they could make it very tiny, the text, and just given a bit more to space for the actual work, and it would have been so much nicer. But it's still a very, very good book. I mean, there's still no problem with it. But this is from Vanguard, and it's, well, I say, it's one of those books, I think, this could have been amazing. And maybe at some point someone will bring out a 500-page, really comprehensive book, real sort of large pictures, and that will be definitely the definitive reference. Even though it says definitive reference, it's just one of those definitive references that just could have been so much better from Vanguard. And you can see some, I mean, I love some of these ones, like here, the fantastic one, but they are so tiny. And Wonder Woman's one of the most unusual Wonder Woman covers I think around. And the Weird Tales of the Macabre, I've got a copy of that somewhere. And Vampirella, some great ones there, but still nice little book. But this is softback. I think there's a hardback version of this. I think it's got a little bit more than this one, but still worth reading and worth guessing if you're a fan of Jeffrey Jones. I love this one. This one, £1.49. I got this in my local Oxfam I haven't read it for a while. And I thought, you know what, I must read it. Just full of some just great pictures from the 1960s. 1962, this was top numbers special. Ackroyd on the front. And you got Louis Armstrong. Obviously all the people that were going strong at the time. Charlie Mingus, Jerry Brown. Just whenever you pick these sort of things up, I think, you know, wow. Because I know when I go to shops, they'll probably be gone. I'm certain I can go back 10 minutes later and someone will have bought it. And you think, no. So whenever I see this sort of thing, and I love books about music, so Humphrey Lyttelton, and as well as, of course, the music, jazz music as well, just brilliant. Mahalia Jackson. Now, I must admit, it starts going like gospel and Kenny Baker and many, many more. Nero and the Gladiators, I must admit, not familiar with their work at all. So you've got Mike Nero O'Neill. Led to his disc being banned by the BBC. Perhaps that's the reason why I have not heard of him. Terry Pitt's jazz band and so on. Lots and lots of great work all the way through. Very enjoyable. Now, it's not a huge amount of reading material, but it's just great and really captures that period of 1960s, early 1960s, that sort of mod / jazz / that changeover period of that time. Jazz classic. This is a great read. John Lennon's Letters. Now, obviously got John Lennon there. It's got lots of postcards, got lots of letters, various bits of scribbles on various paper, some drawings and much, much more. And of course, lots of pictures of the Beatles as well. Not a huge amount, but you've got some lovely ones there. Beatles, 1962. Okay, more letters there, you can see. And it's got the text, which is good. I mean, the writing is fairly easy to read in most cases, but it is nice that there's actually put the contents at the side. You've got examples there. And also you've got other information about the Beatles, about the rest of the characters, people, Yoko Ono, and many others. And there's a few pictures, not a huge amount. We've got here discs, etc. And it's got, what's this one? My Valentine, Top TV Show, Magical Mystery Tour. Maybe. But you've got that as well. International Who's Who. And many other letters as well. Obviously, Paul there, we thought a lot about yours and the Beatles LPs and decided, etc., etc. So it is a fascinating, fascinating read. Cuba, Music and Revolution. Now, this one's original album cover art. I love these sort of books of Cuban music. Now, I bought this one for foils. One of these books that when you see it on the shelf, you think, ooh, yes, that's perfect. And I read it, flicked through. I thought, should I buy it? I've got so many books like this of album covers. And I thought, okay, I'll buy it. And it's very good. It's very good. Now, I must admit, I don't think there's a single album in here that I've ever played or listened to. That says it all, doesn't it? But, of course, one thing about these is, of course, when you get these sort of ones, you can always, of course, go and say out a certain name. I'm not going to mention the name, so my Amazon device will perk up, and then hopefully we'll find the music after about 50 attempts of trying to say the word La Música del Pueblo de Cuba or something. It might have that. I have no idea. But it's just great to actually listen to some of the music. But still, the album covers are great all the way through. Now, most of the labels I'm not particularly familiar with either. I'm certain there are many people who are experts of Cuban music. They know all these people. Now, I do not. I have to say Cuban music, I know a little bit, some of it, but I have to say I do not know much about any of these artists. I mean, of course, that's the great thing about music is that you can then go off and discover a little bit more. And this is what these sort of books are really great, as well as having some really, really good covers. So this is a nice, and it's a real thick, heavy, chunky book. I mean, just holding it for a bit does actually weigh you down. Now, one thing that's the worst thing for me is this magazine, Culture. I always get this on Sundays, and it's always got, of course, book reviews. It is the worst. So if you don't want to buy any books or anything, you just want to avoid book, don't. If you read this, that's virtually inevitable. You say, oh, that looks a really good book. I must buy that, and I do that too often. And another one this weekend, another absolute curse, is this one, Books to Escape In. This is in the iPaper. I always get the i, and this one, it's got loads of great, and I was thinking, oh, that sounds a good book. That one sounds good. Oh, that must be. And I've actually seen lots of reviews. There's, of course, the good old YouTube reviews, and so many of those are thinking, must. And that, Emily St. John Mandel, The Glass Hotel, just, that's definitely a must-have. I thoroughly enjoyed the last book, so I really must be checking that one out. Sounds really good what Blurb was talking about, saying this and that about it. But that's it. That's my current reading, or what I've read last week or so. Thoroughly enjoyed all reading. I've got loads of comics I'm going through at the moment. I bought loads of things like fancy masterpieces. I'm reading through those. I haven't got anything coming this week. I think this is the first week I really haven't got any books coming. Of course, I will probably be popping down to a certain Oxfam bookshop in my hometown, and we'll be buying too many of those. There's always something. You go in there and there's loads of art books or something, and you think, no, yes, I'll buy that. Unfortunately, my shop does not have that many comic book related ones. It does occasionally. Some I've gone in there and they've had omnibus editions, and you think, wow, or epic collections, wow, or something like that, or mainly essentials. Sometimes there's another shop just slightly up the road, and I can't remember what the shop's called, but it's quite often you go in there, Heart Foundation, whatever, and they have lots of essentials, often in the windows for about £5 or £6, and you think, oh, excellent. Some that I've had before. That's always trouble. Sometimes you think, oh, if I got that one, do I want to risk buying that one? And as always, of course, I am getting rid of some books, because people often ask, do you get rid of books? Yes, I do. This one I'm getting rid of. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I'm putting it on sale on eBay. I always think I'm going to do it today. Likelihood it'll be probably next week, but I'm going to put this one on Orwell, which was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Superb artwork all the way through. I've read it. I'm not going to read it again, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And also Gardens of the Galaxy. I've got a set of 4 of these Gardens of the Galaxy along my local, one of my charity shops along the road, and it was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed the story. Actually, it was very odd. The weird thing was, it had the story at the front, and then suddenly had some backup stories at the back, which sort of very weird ones, like obviously Captain Marvel there as well, and some other stories, obviously with Groot, etc., or Groot. And also this one. Now, this one I'm getting rid of. It's been on my to get rid of list for a long time. I keep picking it up. I think, such a good book. But at the same time, I think, I've got the Taschen book. Do I really need to keep every single book? And this one here, The Puppet Master, great little story, full of course, some classic stories. I love this one though. All the same, I think it's got to go. You just can't keep it. As quite often people put comments saying, is your house a library? And it does get to feel like that. So I don't want it to turn into a library, as much as that's probably very nice. But it's just, you've got to occasionally trim books back and think. But then again, they take quite a long time to sell. But that's one of those things. But still, I hope you found something of interest in this, and you might go and look out for some of these books. And obviously, please put in the comments what sort of books you've been reading this week. What ones have you been, or which ones you're going to get fairly soon? You got anything that's coming up soon? Because it's always sometimes nice to hear of any new books that are coming up, and you think, oh, I hadn't heard of that one. And I think, oh, that'd be good. An omnibus one that you can really recommend. Epics you recommend. Any sort of ones like tomorrow's books are always coming out. I think there's a team up one. I haven't got that yet. I keep thinking about that one. And there's also some other books that are coming out. Got mainline comics. That's another one I'm thinking about. Though it's quite expensive, that one. That's tomorrow's one. But there's too many, of course. There's always some more. Possibly when I next go up to London, pick up some more in Gosh. That's always the worst place to go to. But anyway, hope you found this of interest. Any questions about any of the books, let me know. Bye.